By the end of this video, you're going to know the 6 major credit changes that are happening right now in 2026 because some of them are already in motion, but most people won't find out what they are until after they get surprised by the result. In fact, one of these changes will wipe off debt off 15 million credit reports, and another one means the way that you've been managing your credit cards, even if you pay them off in full every month, might start working against you. And one of them might finally end something that prevents you from being legally robbed every time you apply for a mortgage. But either way, I'm going to break down all 6 in the quickest way possible, let you know who they affect first, and most importantly, how to best prepare yourself for the future. Starting off with the more technical side of things, and then I'll move into a simpler version for everyone to understand. So basically, mortgage lenders are transitioning from the old FICO models to the new FICO 10T model and the Vantage 4.0 score. Basically, the way they calculate your score and report is slowly going to change over time. Old models may look at your credit like a photo. Basically, what does it look like at a specific date and time in history? So if they pulled your credit report today, they're going to see your balances as of today and all of your payment history. But in the future, with these new models, it's going to look at an actual timeline, 12, 24 months in the past, and start to recognize those patterns. Was this person carrying a balance for the past 12 months and they paid it off right before we pulled their credit to apply them for the mortgage? Or have they had a small balance this whole time, and has their utilization and spending been pretty consistent? But remember, that was just change number 1. There's still 5 more changes to go over, and the next one is going to apply to basically everyone and not just people specific to mortgages, so make sure to stick around. Because last year, on January 7th, 2025, a rule was passed to have medical debt taken off of Americans' credit reports. About 15 million people were technically affected, and on average, this would increase their credit score anywhere from 25 to 50 points. But as we know, things change, and as of today, halfway through last year, that rule was overturned, but in specific states, which I'll go over in a second, things are still becoming sticky. So as of the time of me recording this video, states like New York, Delaware, and Colorado have their own law that was implemented that medical collections and medical debt reporting will no longer appear on those people's credit reports. And if you're not located in one of those states, don't worry, because Congress is still fighting back and forth to hopefully have this implemented for everyone. But nonetheless, the credit bureaus specifically have agreed to some sort of in-between. And to be super sure, I'm going to read off of my fact-checked information because I know this is a serious topic for a lot of people. So basically, the 3 major bureaus have voluntarily agreed to remove paid medical debt from everyone's reports. And unpaid medical debt, meaning medical collections, under $500, and medical debt that's technically less than a year old, and that started back over in 2022. For example, if you have a copay that you forgot to pay, 50 or $100 from the doctor, then technically that's going to be taken off your report. But if you have a big emergency room visit, let's say 5, 10, or 25,000, then that's going to be a little bit tougher to be voluntarily removed. But again, things are up in the air, legislation is back and forth, and the laws are back and forth. So as always, I will keep you updated on those topics. And the big takeaway from this is if you're someone in one of those 3 states, New York, Colorado, or Delaware, or if you're someone who has a paid medical collection on your report, remember the credit bureaus voluntarily agreed to remove them, and it's still on your credit, then it's worth looking into and giving the credit bureaus a call or sending them over a letter to hopefully have that rectified. And to make it super simple, if you made it this far in the video, I'm going to put the link to my free credit evaluation and score boost plan, where I'll personally look at your credit report and give you a free 3-step action plan to increase your score, especially removing any sort of late payment, medical collections, so on and so forth, at the pinned comment under this video. But let's get back to the other big changes. Because this next change has nothing to do with speculation, it's already been implemented, and it's going to affect practically everyone, especially if you recently applied to a mortgage. Because change number 3 means mortgage trigger leads are finally ending. And you're probably thinking, well, Nick, what the heck is a trigger lead? But we all know when we applied for a mortgage or any sort of credit card, and all of a sudden we start getting a million spam calls, a million spam texts and emails, and we're probably thinking, well, how did they get my information, and how the heck did they get it so fast? Because in the past, the credit bureaus were legally allowed to sell our information triggering a lead to these companies almost instantly. But thankfully that is coming to an end based on this new Homebuyer Privacy Protection Act, which Donald Trump implemented and is taking place in March of 2026. So basically, under this new law, they can only sell your information under explicit consent. And technically, only your actual mortgage broker and existing banking relationships could access that info moving forward. No random mortgage brokers, no random crazy companies, debt relief, all these people that are reaching out can no longer contact you, and thankfully can no longer definitely contact you immediately. So if you're still getting those calls after March of 2026, then leave a comment below and we'll see if we can get to the bottom of it. And when I say change number 4 is going to affect everyone, I know this because I've worked with thousands of clients in the past and continue to do so, and this pops up on every single credit report I've probably ever seen, which is the buy now, pay later apps. And I don't know if everyone's going to be overly excited about this one, but for many, many years, you could get away with Klarna, Afterpay, basically apps where you could just sign up and receive a product or service and pay a small installment amount over weeks or over months instead of paying for everything up front, wasn't actually showing up on your credit report. So if you buy the kids' concert tickets, if you buy a big purchase, technically you could get away with paying that over on the side rather than it affecting your actual credit score. But that has officially changed, and many of them are already on board with all of the credit bureaus to officially stamp your report and have that implemented in calculating your credit score and your credit report moving forward. And I do want to pause and break this down into 2 simple scenarios for you because there is a world where this could actually help you. Technically, for someone that's building their credit profile, let's say they have a thin profile, meaning they only have a few cards or no cards on their report and they need to technically establish themselves. Using these buy now, pay later apps, maybe it's an easier approval than getting an actual credit card like American Express, may help them build out their credit report because it's going to show the age of the account, it's going to show positive payment history, and it's going to help them get approved for things down the road. But person number B, maybe they have 100 of these buy now, pay later apps going on. Yes, I've seen those types of situations, and no, it's not something to laugh at because maybe someone's in a really hard scenario and they need that to feed their kids and feed their family and they need that to live off of. I totally get it. But in those scenarios, it's going to really hurt them because now it's going to show up on all of their reports and all of their existing credit cards and existing bank accounts are now going to be on alert. Hey, why does Mrs. Smith have 200 of these accounts open and she's not really spending any money with our bank? Is she spending her money elsewhere? This is all new to us. We thought she was a great customer because she had a low balance and she was paying it in full, but it turns out she was really just subsidizing it with a buy now, pay later app. That could affect you. So bottom line there is if you're someone who's heavily relying on those buy now, pay later apps, it may be better to even put it on one of your credit cards and then pay it off over time. And no, I'm not saying you're going to pay less interest. I'm speaking strictly in terms of your credit score and in terms of you being able to get approved for things in the future. But unlike change number 4, change number 5 can only help you because rent, utilities, and other payments that weren't normally on your report are now going to beginning to show. And the cool part is it's not something that's mandated, but it's going to be a voluntary option if and when you choose to do so. So basically, let's say you've been paying rent for a while, you've been paying a building, a management company, because I've done that in the past, and it wasn't actually reporting to the credit bureaus, but you should be getting credit for that, right? If you're paying X amount of rent, you want that positive payment to be showing on your report because you probably work hard for your money and you deserve to have that help your credit score and help you out in the future. Well, now all 3 credit bureaus are now going to give you the option to report that. In the past, you had to spend money on a third-party service to opt in to have your rent, subscriptions, and all of that reported. And the cool part, which I think is going to help out a lot of people, is that negative payments, meaning late payments, aren't technically going to account. They're only going to account positive payments for this type of service. And you're probably thinking, well, is it going to cost money? And when is this technically going to be implemented? So basically, this is all going to start when people are universally using that FICO 10T, that new scoring model, and that Vantage 4.0 system. Basically, it's a new algorithm that's going to take all of these rent, utilities, so on and so forth into account. As far as it being an extra service, as of right now, it looks like it's going to be included, but time will tell, so I'm excited to see what's going to happen. And if you are someone that didn't even know this was possible, regardless of using a paid service or not, I'll drop some links I have down below to help you report any rent, utilities, so on and so forth. For Experian, they use Experian Boost. That's completely free. But for rent reporting and stuff like that, there are third parties that are pretty fairly priced that can help you out today. But this last change is really, really important, especially if you're someone that's shopping for a mortgage or looking to get approved for a house in the near future. Which is Fannie Mae, meaning a first-time home buyer, is officially removing their 620 minimum credit score requirement. Technically, no matter what was on your credit profile in the past, a 620 was the hard cutoff to be disqualified from entertaining you to be approved for a FHA mortgage. But again, as we heard in the first point and throughout this video, we recognize those patterns that mortgage lenders and these programs are moving more towards a pattern recognition software, meaning the actual score and the snapshot in time is no longer a hard stop because they're going to analyze your profile over time and really look at the context of each report. And no, that doesn't mean you should stop caring about your credit score. It's still super, super important, but it does mean that mortgage lenders that are moving more towards that 10T formula and scoring model aren't just going to disqualify you for an FHA mortgage based on the exact number 620. Could be a bit confusing, especially out of context, so let me give you a better example. 620 in the past was a hard cutoff. But if you're someone that has a 610 credit score, but you have a really strong 3 years of rental history, you have 3 years of great payment history, and there's no negative items on your report, technically you're probably thinking, well, they should have a higher credit score, and you're probably right. So this model is going to fix that. That person may now be seen as a desirable borrower and get a better rate than if someone had a 690 credit score because they would qualify based on the old 620 requirement, but that person may have had a ton of late payments and things like that. So the way that you establish the credit profile and you maintain and build it over time is slightly going to change. Consistency is going to be more about these sudden big changes like paying down a balance in one night versus someone who's had consistent usage and payment history over time. And then, as we wrap up, I did want to bring this all together and throw in a bonus segment for the people that made it this far in the video, which is me breaking down all of the different scoring models, whether you're applying for a mortgage, a car, a credit card, so on and so forth, so you can best optimize your credit profile. Starting off with the FICO score, because that is the one that's most universally used. And for mortgages, we could say that the FICO 2, FICO 5, FICO 4, those are all classic models that were used by Fannie and Freddie. But FICO 10 is starting to roll out alongside all of these different calculations. When it comes to car loans, they typically pull from an auto score of 8 or 9, which is an industry-specific scoring model. Basically, it's used to predict car loan payback behavior. So they're going to weigh more down on your past car loans and how you paid those versus your overall profile. Again, they're still going to factor in everything, but they're going to provide more weight to specific car loans on your profile. Credit cards usually just use a bank score 8 or 9 or just a FICO 8 scoring model. So basically, same person, same score, same report, but a different outcome and a different calculation. And if all this was a little bit confusing, I totally understand. That's why I make these videos in the first place. Check out the pinned comment below to get your free credit evaluation and score boost plan to make everything a whole lot simpler. And make sure to subscribe for more tips to build your credit and maximize your finances.